two of the great franchises in the NBA, the Knicks and the Lakers.
I wake up yelling, get the bag, gotta get the bag.
What a matchup here, Randall and AD.
I leveled up a couple levels, bruh. Every move that I make, I gotta double up.
Big shot for the Knicks. Matthews with the follow. Julius Randle. Three-pointer on its way. It's good. And the Lakers win it in overtime.
He's Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do?
What up, though? We giving people what they want.
Jalen, we have the leaked Week 1 NFL schedule, and we have a ton of NBA action last night with playoff implications, including where the night ended between the Lakers and the Knicks. THT hit some big buckets at the end of the game in overtime. And then, right at the end, my Knickerbockers, RJ Barrett had the ball, and this is the shot that he got, and they lost the game.
What had happened was,
after the game, LeBron and AD taunted Spike Lee, and then after that, AD had this to say.
I'm hurt. Not more so my body, just my groin got tight. That was really it. Not sure where it came from. There's no way I was coming out the game. I mean, big game for us. A team was playing red hot. The situation that we're in, trying to battle for 6.
Jalen, AD is hurting. LeBron is supposed to come back tonight to test that ankle. What does this all mean for the Los Angeles Lakers?
the Lakers are going very deep into the box score to pull out these wins to try to propel themselves from the NBA play-in. THT's shot was huge. AD part 2, that's Andre Drummond, had 16 points and 18 big boards. I know a lot of fans were questioning whether this was going to be a good fit because he struggled in a few games. He was huge yesterday. Kyle Kuzma returned. He also had 23 points. And so for the Lakers, as I started to think about the West, Jacoby, and watch AD get injured, he said he didn't want to come out of this game. You know what that means to me? He's not going to play in the next game. When LeBron James comes back, is Caruso going to play? Is Schroeder still out? And so the Lakers have a lot of question marks, but here's a silver lining. You don't want to be a part of the play-in. However, if the Lakers are a part of the play-in and they ultimately get the 7th seed, that's better than playing the Utah Jazz in the first round or the Clippers in the first round. So it actually might end up working out for LeBron and company.
It might, but let's see what it's going to take to get there, because right now it is between 3 teams in the West to avoid the play-in. And of course, that is the Blazers, the Lakers, and the Mavericks. The Lakers basically have to win out, and they need the Blazers or the Mavericks to go 1-2. And you look at who the Trailblazers play: the Jazz, the Suns, and then the Nuggets. If the Nuggets have something to play for there, it could happen. And that is one of the reasons that you and I both love the play-in tournament. But Jalen, can't help but notice that the New York Knickerbockers lost that game last night, and they really needed that one because there are implications beyond just what happened at Staples Center last night. The Knicks now drop down to the 6th spot. And while it would be so great to have the Knicks in the playoffs, to have at least 2 games in Madison Square Garden, that means that they would end up in the 6-3 game. And I don't know if you see that deer right there at the number 3. I don't know how good the Knicks are going to be against that Bucks team. They need to play themselves into a spot where they're either playing the Heat or the Hawks. Jalen, what do you think about the Knicks' chances right now of advancing to the second round?
I think you need to hit the brakes on they should rather play the Heat. They should rather play the Hawks. If they play the Bucks or Miami, just so you know, as a die-easy New York Knickerbocker fan, they would lose to either one of those teams in the first round. But let me tell you something else that I want you to be excited about. You remember going into yesterday's game, I told you that Knick fans would be in a frenzy at the LAPC and at the Staples Center. You saw AD getting harassed at home? Did you see AD getting harassed at home? You saw him doing like this to the crowd. New York fans travel when that squad is doing well. So continue to enjoy your team, but I'll tell you, I like the Hawks, and they've done a terrific job, in particular under Nate McMillan. That's their opportunity to win. But how the Knicks have played all year has been isolating Julius Randle, who had 30 points yesterday and was outstanding. So was Derrick Rose. But in the playoffs, if you're going to isolate against the Bucks or the Heat, that's going to be a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. Those are really good points. And as somebody who's on the Knicks bandwagon right now, I'm extremely concerned. But all of this intrigue with the Lakers in the West and with the Knicks, you see how just one game can change everything. That's why the play-in tournament is so exciting, because those weren't the only impactful game. Last night, we had the Heat against the Celtics, the second of two, and the Heat once again took care of business, handled the Celtics without Jalen Brown. It seems like the Heat, like last year, are really coming together at the right time. Just how dangerous is this team in the Eastern Conference?
Oh, you mean Miami's actually coaching during the regular season and preparing during the regular season to be their best in the postseason? Oh, what a noble thought. Oh, that's what happens when you have, in my opinion, the best coach in the NBA. And I know Greg Popovich is the legend, so I'm going to pay homage to Pop. But other than Pop, it's Spo. I've seen him develop players. Look at Duncan Robinson. Did he get drafted? Did Duncan Robinson get drafted? No, he didn't get drafted. Look at Tyler Herro. Goran Dragic, at his age, is still out there playing quality minutes.
Nunn.
Those three guys, Robinson, Herro, and Dragic, if they're playing at optimal performance, the Miami Heat are going to be extremely tough to beat. A lot of seasons, again, prepare for the regular season and the accolades and everything that come with it. The Miami Heat didn't have an all-star this year. By the time Bam got invited, he was like not going to be able to do it. Okay? They're focused on this time of the year. But this is really more about the Celtics, Jacoby, because can they survive a play-in? Can the Celtics without Jalen Brown survive a play-in? If they lose and don't make the playoffs, that's not going to be a good look for the NBA team that has had the most draft picks since 2014. To add to a young squad that made it to the conference finals a couple of times, they were not able to add greatness to that team, and therefore the Celtics, even if they do make the playoffs, as I mentioned before Brown got hurt, are going to be a first-round exit.
That's one thing I think is very important, because it's kind of like the Bucks against the Heat last year. People remember, well, Giannis got hurt in the series, and that's why they lost. No, they were already losing that series. And the same thing with this Celtics team. Oh, well, Jalen Brown hurt his wrist, and he was out for the play-in in the playoffs, so that's why they lost. No. The Celtics were trash before this all happened. The Celtics were trash before Jalen Brown hurt his wrist. The Celtics played so much uninspired basketball up to the point in which Jalen Brown, that I don't want history to rewrite this Celtics season into one where Jalen Brown got hurt at the end, and that's why they weren't successful. Because the story of this season was the roster looked great, the coach is great, but they just played uninspired basketball. They didn't get stops. They didn't get wins against bad teams, and that is why they are in the position to fight just to get in the playoffs, which me personally, I don't see him winning in the play-in. I don't see him winning in the play-in. I do not see them winning in the play-in.
Wow.
Do you?
It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, you got teams like the Hornets. They're going to be enthusiastic about their opportunity. We had Coach JB give us an exclusive yesterday and just talk about the development of his roster with LaMelo Ball. But Celtic pride has to kick in during the play-in, Jacoby. I would hope they would at least advance in the play-in before getting bounced in the first round.
Absolutely. And the Wizards are also there looming as a dangerous team in any sort of play-in tournament. So much intrigue around the NBA. We have a lot more to get to later, but now it's time to turn our attention to the National Football League, because there was a leak. There was a security leak. We have the Week 1 schedule, and look at these notable games, of course, starting with that Thursday night game between the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. I'm looking at that game between the Packers and the Saints. Will Aaron Rodgers be playing quarterback on September 12th? Nobody knows.
Wow.
Absolutely nobody knows. What do you think about these notable games in Week 1?
I know how much you love drama, so I'm going to acknowledge your Aaron Rodgers point. When you've been with a company over 15 years and you have no guaranteed money on your deal, I'm watching that situation too. And I agree with you. If they don't put any money on his deal that makes him satisfied, they can schedule the game, but I don't anticipate he's going to be under center. We shall see. But the other thing that I thought about, there's actually two more things. One, Lamar Jackson. as much as Tom Brady and the Bucks are going to get the headlines, and rightfully so, for winning the Super Bowl, he was the MVP a couple of seasons ago. And the goal was to get him a couple of weapons on the outside. They tried to address that in the draft. It'll be interesting to see, though, if they go after a veteran in free agency. We talked about the Hawks. We talked about the Falcons and what they were going to do with the draft. Is Julio going to shake loose? Is Odell Beckham going to shake loose? And finally, here's where the irrational fan comes out. I'm going to look at this Lions schedule just like I looked at the first game.
Oh, no.
And
Don't do it.
I'm like, the 49ers spent their entire offseason disrespecting Jimmy G, and this is going to be his first game. This is a great win for us. This is a great win for us. Ain't that right, Jared Goff? This is why you take an offensive lineman in the first round, because he's going to be ready to start from the beginning. And he's going to give us that protection we need against that massive front seven that gets pressure of the 49ers. This is the first win for the Lions. We go 1-0 against the 49ers.
I love the idea that you're already claiming 49ers victories 4 months in advance. You know, we got the schedule now, but what we don't have is the point spread, and I promise you the Lions will be double-digit underdogs in week 1 at home against those 49ers. You might as well go to that game, because in that first quarter, right at kickoff, will be the only time the Lions will be undefeated this season. Right there, while you're in that seat in downtown Detroit, that'll be the only time that they'll be undefeated this season, right when they kick the ball off before they get trounced by the 49ers. We have so much more to talk about in the NFL, but there were a bunch of impactful NBA games, and of course this. The man who everyone is talking about, Tim Tebow. We have some sound from Urban Meyer right after this.